we're going to start with Gifted. And what'd you think of this episode?
Boy, oh boy. That was a great episode. Oh, man, I've been waiting all podcasts to talk about this show. It's so good.
Yeah.
It is so good.
I quite like it.
So good.
So yeah, Vampire Bill, he's pretty kind to mutants despite being a prosecutor.
Dude, real quick.
Okay.
Sorry to cut you off. But I'm just saying, that guy on Instagram that commented on our stuff talking about how Marvel shows will fail.
Nicholas J.
That's Nicholas J.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it, Nicholas. How dare you, good sir. I didn't even know that was you, man.
I don't know if he's watched the shows or not. He's just kind of...
Dude, watch the shows, brother. I'm just saying, do yourself a favor and watch Gifted. That show is amazing. It is really good. Really good.
Yeah. Scott's making his cum face.
Oh God!
But yeah,
I hope that's not my cum face.
Let's get into the weeds here, as they say. So yeah, like I was saying, Mr. Strucker, I call him Vampire Bill. Yeah, he is quite kind to mutants despite being a prosecutor, as you see in the beginning. I don't know why his family was all against him. Like, why did you tell them to leave? Like, he was being nice. He could have arrested her.
Right? God damn it, Vampire Bill. Just calm your shit.
Anyway, so yeah, Blink's powers are going fucking haywire, dude. Like,
yep.
She got injured, so now she's just fucking destroying shit with her powers on accident and like opening portals to let cops in to their fucking secret hideout.
Yeah, and what's his name was like, I don't think so. Throws his ass back out.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny.
Fucking Thunderbird was like, I will fucking destroy you, because he is strong as a he's just really fucking strong.
Right.
Okay.
And almost bulletproof.
So.
As told to us by, what's his name?
Eclipse. Yes. And the doctors were pretty nice to Eclipse before they thought he was abusing Mrs. Strucker.
Mrs. Vampire Bill.
Mrs. Vampire Bill. Fred from Angel.
Oh, that is her. Oh my God. I was like, I know her from somewhere. I just don't know where. Okay. How old is like their daughter, like the actress? How old do you think she is?
She looks too young for me to be looking at her.
I don't think she's that young.
Yeah, I don't think she is, but she looks young.
I was like,
She's
I couldn't
like
tell.
23, 24.
That's what I was thinking, because I was like, yeah, she's supposed to be like 16 years old. And I was just like, do 16-year-olds just look like that now?
Some of them do, to be honest.
I was like, dude, I need to look this up. Keep going.
Okay. So, yeah, some of this stuff. Okay, so Polaris, right? Polaris. I like Polaris. She's not adjusting to prison very well. She's kind of like, okay, so at first, right, I thought that this prison was all mutants, and then you kind of find out as the episode goes on that it's like mutants have these collars to prevent them from using powers, but there are humans as well. There are humans in this prison because, they're all on equal playing field with these collars, supposedly, unless one malfunctions or something. But I thought that was like pretty interesting, like seeing her kind of being abused in prison, and then like the black hair dye washing out, and then we see her like natural Polaris-y green hair. So that was pretty interesting.
All right, I'm safe. She's 18 years old, dude.
18? She does look young, yeah. But
she looks young, but like her body does not look young.
Is she 18 now, or was she 18 during filming? Because she might have been 17 while this was being filmed, and that could be bad.
I don't know, dude. But like, I was like, man, she's busted.
Yeah. So what did you think of like Polaris adjusting to prison?
Oh, is that what you were talking about?
That is.
Sorry, I walked away, guys, so I can go and look this up. Because I had to know. I was like, I can't just be sitting there being like a pedophile and shit. I was like, man, she looks hot, right? Right. So anyway, sorry, guys. Adjusting to prison. I didn't expect them to beat her up like that.
Right.
I don't think she's adjusting well.
They tried to murder her baby.
Right, because like, I mean, so like that from my understanding, right, in like a women's prison and stuff, if a girl is pregnant and stuff, they're supposed to be protected.
Right. But maybe the guards don't know. But I mean, obviously they
No,
should
no, no,
know.
no, not by the guards, like the inmate code.
Oh.
Like, inmates won't, like, mess with you like that. Like, they'll fuck with you, don't get me wrong, but they won't beat you up.
I think this speaks to just part of, like, one of the central themes of the show, and even in, like, a lot in this episode is mutants are super discriminated against still, despite having these certain rights or whatever. And while you were, like, doing your research, I mentioned, I thought this, like, at first was an all-mutant prison, but, like, it's not. Like, there are a bunch of humans there. There's only a few mutants there, So,
right.
It's kind of crazy to see that. Like, it was kind of hard for me, like, a little bit emotionally when, like, Eclipse was talking about some of the things they have to deal with as mutants, and, like how they're just immediately discriminated against no matter what, despite having certain rights or whatever.
Right. So okay, like we always say, comics often deal with a lot of political, social issues, and this show obviously is going to be one of the biggest platforms for that, being involved with X-Men related stuff, because
Right.
X-Men was like the forefront runners of this, like, civil rights kind of like messages behind it and stuff. And this one is so heavily into it, and it feels like it's so much of like, quite like the Mexican immigration issue, at hand, and I feel like it's almost showing like that other side of it, of what's going on, and like how they're being actually hunted now.
Right, and anybody who kind of sympathizes with them is viewed negatively, and we saw that. That was awful when that doctor was like, oh, people with the X gene can lash out and things like that. Like thinking that Amy Acker or Mrs. Vampireville, where the fuck her name is in this show, thinking like she was being abused by him. Right. Because like she's like, oh yeah, he's my husband or whatever. Like obviously, just messing with the guy like to get what they needed to get, but like just that inherent prejudice, like we were talking about earlier, like way early in this podcast about like, oh yeah, gay people don't cheat on people and stuff like that. Is like that kind of prejudice to think that regular people dating don't have assault or abuse or anything. Oh, it's just because you're with a mutant that you assume that. Like that's awful. Right. Awful to hear that, like kind of from because it's people like that. People think that way in real life about like if it was think about it in terms of if it was a white woman and a black man.
Right. Exactly. That's good. It's awful. It's disgusting.
Yeah. But yeah, Mama Strucker does save the day, and I think that thematically is very meaningful. Like in this world with mutants, like humans doing extraordinary things to help, humans doing extraordinary things to help benefit them, and I think that's really good to see. Vampire Bill does kind of outsmart Sentinel Services, but has to give up the underground mutants, and that is
We'll see what he actually does. I thought like one of the most important messages, right, was when Eclipse is talking to Miss Strucker, and he's like, he said, "Would you act the same? Would you defend us if it wasn't your kids that destroyed that gym?"
Yeah, and
that was like very powerful.
Made her think, and that's very important. And that is a scene in particular. I was like a little hard to watch, like because like you think about like how discrimination kind of runs rampant in our world, and it's not very surprising that it does, but it's hard. Like it makes me feel like very sad, very empathetic for certain people that have to deal with that kind of stuff.
Right. I mean, definitely not right, but it makes you realize how great it is to live in a state like California, where you don't really like, I mean, yes, there's racism that happens, there's discrimination that happens here, but not on the scale that we see in any other states, dude. Like, it's unreal. Like, talking about, like, I've talked to some of like my passengers through Uber and Lyft, people that are from other states. I've talked to this African American lady that's from like Chicago, and we were talking about that, and we were talking about, I was like, yeah, and I said the same thing. I was like, yeah, I feel fortunate, to live in an inclusive community where there's so many different people from different backgrounds,
Right.
races, religions, etc. And you know, you don't really, when you live in a community like that, you don't see the racism to the level of, you know, degree that you would see it, like, you know, down south or out east, you know, or even in the
Right.
Midwest. You know, it's crazy that sometimes it's really hard to even think that should even exist, because in a way, California, we are kind of sheltered in that sort of way, like that. It doesn't really exist here like that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, if I'm trying to tell you guys, like, I mean, I'm not saying, you know, I'm not ignorant, you know, I'm not saying that it doesn't fully exist, but like I said, not to the degree of what it exists elsewhere. Like the shit you hear on the news, it's never in like California, really.
Yeah, I mean that it does exist here, obviously, but like what you're saying, not to that extreme that it does in other places. You know, and it happens to everybody. Like, white people can be discriminated against too, but
Right.
I mean, like, the classic thing is, like, if you're white and a black person said, "Oh, would you want to be black?" You probably would say no.
Right.
Like, unless you're unreasonable. So, like, you know, that just goes to show we do know like how bad discrimination is. We all know. Some people just don't care. So that's pretty hard. We kind of end the episode with the scientists, and they bring up this news clipping about these twin mutants in Rio de Janeiro. Are they the Maximoffs? Is this Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver that lit this place on fire or did whatever they did?
Oh, you also get a cool little thing. Was you get a nod to the Brotherhood?
The Brotherhood and the X-Men, and the other group, I don't remember the name, but there's another group, another mutant group out there. And they try to make you feel bad for Sentinel Service member guy whose daughter was killed. But it's the thing, man. How's that any different than if she was shot in the crossfire of something, you know?
Right.
And, like, it just makes you think. This show will challenge you guys emotionally and mentally, okay? It puts a strain on you. So, yeah. Even if it is the Maximoffs that they're referring to, I don't think we'll see them in the episode, but it's nice to get those little nods. So, grade.
9.5.
Fair enough. I give it a 9.2. Still enjoying the show. Going to keep watching it. And if you guys want us to keep talking about it, let us know.